Welcome, everyone, to today's episode. I want to talk with you about stress and pressure and how we can use that to actually transform ourselves into a more courageous and present individual. Let's look at what yoga says about stress. Let's look at what spirituality says about challenges in general. And my hopes are that after listening to today's episode, you have a reframe, you have a new relationship with your stress, because I really think that's all it takes is a reframe, a new relationship, a new approach to stress. Because let's be honest, stress isn't going anywhere, right? Stress is a natural part of life. And that's just the key word, natural. Stress is actually just information. Stress is information about the moment, information about yourself, information about the stretch, the growth that you're going through. And let's talk about what yoga says, because if we can neutralize it, if we can alchemize stress, you've already won. Because sometimes the moment isn't stressful, it's your reaction to it. Sometimes the moment is just different or unexpected. We didn't plan for it, and then we're already shouldering so much stress and worries and the burdens of household or life that when these benign moments happen, it sets us off, right? We've all been there. I've been there. It's like, wow, you look back and you're like, why did that trigger me? So, what can we know? What can we learn about stress, growth, and challenges, and change the relationship so that we're looking at it and reframing stress so that it's actually just information, so that we can neutralize it, take the energy out of it, and allow it to just be information about the world. When I think about yoga and I think about Eastern philosophy, when I hear the word stress, the first word that comes to me is tapas. 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 Tapas means friction. Tapas is like if you take your hands together and you rub them quickly, that friction that you feel, that heat, is the physical sensation of tapas. Tapas also in the Sanskrit word is defined as a controlled burn. Oh. So that's interesting, right? Friction. Yep, I get that. Difficult moments are friction producing. You're feeling like, okay, me and this person or me and this moment are definitely rubbing up against one another and I don't like it. But controlled burn, that's interesting, right? And the reason it's a controlled burn, it's an intentional burn, intentional discomfort, is because the ancient tantric yogis knew something about our ego and discomfort. The more we're comfortable, the more our story rules, the more our ego, the subjective I, the one that's like, I like this and I don't like that, the one that's like, I'm supposed to be this person in life and I'm not going to be that, the likes, the preferences, the story of who we are, the more we're comfortable, the more that can exist. But tantric yogis, specifically back in the day of classical yoga, so about the middle of yoga's 5,000 years or so timeline, classical yogis, tantric yogis in particular, wanted to bust through the ego. And to do that, to liberate yourself from all the likes and dislikes, because really that's a bunch of bull, right? And it's like, causes a lot of suffering in our lives. If we could get over that, if we could transcend the ego, well, then we probably could find some inner peace. Probably could find some wisdom. So the tantric yogis were like, let's do the weirdest shit we can do. Let's put ourselves under bizarre, pressured social moments and embarrass the crap out of ourselves, throw ourselves out of our comfort zone so much that there's no choice but to surrender to the moment, to give over this idea of self and get out of the way so that there's no self at all. There's just pure consciousness. They'd go to the middle of the public square and they'd sit on a bench and they just bark or wave their arms all in the air, do like really bizarro things that people walk by and be like, that person's local. The point was to go where you shouldn't go and do the things you shouldn't do. Not to hurt anyone, not to hurt oneself, but to be out of the social norm, to push yourself so far beyond what's comfortable, to apply a controlled burn to burn away the impurities of the mind, to burn away what's false, because yogis believe that the ego itself is false, that there's really only just self in terms of you and the ocean. The ocean and the drop are both the same thing. You, the individual, and pure chitta or consciousness are the same thing. Tantric yogis are like, let's go ahead and purify, burn off my weak mind so that I'm nothing but the strong, what the yogis call the diamond mind and the diamond body. So let's talk about the physical practice of tapas. Yogis would stand on one leg on the top of a skinny pole. They would stare up at the sun. They would hold their arm overhead for 30, 40 years. But basically, you would produce a dead hand and a dead arm on yourself because they wanted to do the thing the mind said not to do. Now, this is the extreme. Please note that I am not suggesting you need to do any of this. I want to give you real world nowadays practical householder ways to try this. So just hang tight. Please don't think you got to go start doing barking in your local grocery store. I mean, unless you really wanted to. Okay. The point is, the most extreme thing you could do is going to totally pull you out of any bit of comfort and place you in a zone of, if you don't know who you are and if you don't have comfort, then who are you? What's left if you don't have comfort? Let's get all of the reactions, fear, embarrassment, worry, shame. Let's get those things out and up to the surface and out of the way and burn them off. And then what's left? You don't care. You're pure consciousness. You're over it. You've gotten over the ego that can be embarrassed. You've gotten over the ego that can play small. So stressors, when they happen, how do you react? Tension, when it shows up in your body and life. How do you respond? Are you embarrassed? Are you overreacting? Do you tend to lash out? And please just observe, right? We don't need to hear these questions and then let it activate the story about your reaction. Just observe unattached right now. How do you tend to react? Is there a part of you that feels like there is room to burn off some ego? Because the more expansive you are, let me put it this way, the more expansive you are and the more connected you are to source, the larger you feel. And as a consequence, the more in tune to every being around you you start to feel. You don't feel separateness, in other words. You expand and you feel one with everything around you. People say this is harmony. People call this balance. But there's a sense of I am you are me, we are one. You only get there through raising your energy. And you get there through raising your energy by typically doing some sort of discipline every single day. Maybe it's yoga postures or sadhana. Maybe it is breath work. Maybe it is mantra. Maybe it is going running. Maybe it is karate. Maybe it is qigong. Maybe it is ecstatic dance. Whatever that is for you that raises your energy and unites you and connects you with source, that is the control burn. Doing it every day, devotionally giving yourself over to it. Because listen, you might not be hanging out in the public square with your arm up for 15 years and barking like a dog to help you transcend ego. But what you might be doing is doing a dedicated yoga practice when your mind says, I don't wanna. But you're like, I wanna get up and do a static dance. But your brain goes, you could sleep in 30 more minutes, and you opt to sleep in. That is ego winning. That is the subjective story. That is the unconscious mind, the pattern mind that is taking over once again. So tantric, you can borrow from the tantric yogis and say, well, what's my version of arm in the air for 30 years? How about I get up 30 minutes early and I'm going to do my radical rituals. I'm going to dance around the room. I'm going to go outside for a walk. I'm going to do my hatha yoga. I'm going to do my pranayama. I'm going to do my meditation. I'm going to do my ritual, my breath work. Even when the mind says, I don't want to, you're going to do it anyways. This is the application of a controlled tapas, a controlled burn, where we burn away the impurities of the mind. Is fickle, right? It wants to, it doesn't. It goes back and forth, back and forth. The mind, the mind, the mind. It can never know what it wants to do. It's always back and forth. But the energy, the devotional energy, the surrender, to I want to transform, I want to grow. Therefore, I devote myself to the uncomfortableness, the discomfort of doing something that I don't want to do. You have to come in, you have to be astute, you have to be awake, you have to be paying attention to when you are not applying tapas. The reason this is important is because a lot of you, and I have done this before in the past, we confuse stress with negativity. We confuse the complaining of the mind as a negative thing. We confuse a really challenging moment as useless, something to avoid. I don't want it. Get it the hell out of here. Now, hopefully, learning more about tapas and the weird tantric yogis that I love so much and how we can apply this in our daily ritual practice. Difficulty and discomfort is a teacher. Watch and observe unattached how you are in challenging moments. You will learn about yourself. You will learn how far you've come, and you will learn how far you still have to go. And that's the joke. And that's the rub, and that's spiritual life as a householder. That's where you want to be. We want to be seeing, where am I still stuck in a story about pleasure and how it's got to be this way? And where am I still avoiding things because I really don't want discomfort? But if discomfort is the teacher, can I tiptoe somehow creatively, beautifully into the land of discomfort, intentionally throw myself into the proverbial fire of discomfort and come out the other side, as Deborah Adele says, both burned and blessed by the fire of discipline? Your stressors in life, it's an opportunity. It is an invitation. Your stress is an invitation. Do you hear me? It's an invitation into alchemizing wounds, rejection, overreaction. Your stressors are a doorway, an invitation, an initiation into higher realms of knowing and learning about yourself. Swaha. Study, self-study, swaha. Studying the self, knowing thyself, so that you are not being rode by your shortcomings and your shadow self, but that you're actually riding the shadows like Ganesha rides his mouse, right? We want to make sure we know what's up with me. Where are my shortcomings? Where am I still freaking out when I shouldn't be? Where can I massage that so that I'm actually living a high vibrational life that's more aligned with my values than not? So, stressors, it's your teacher. Go into stressful situations head on now. Be brave. Lift the chin, lift the heart. Take a deep breath. And now view it as friction. View it as a controlled burn. Understanding that you're going to learn about yourself. Understanding that you're going to grow some sort of tenacity muscle. You're going to grow some sort of willpower muscle that wasn't there before. You feel me? You're going to grow into the person you're meant to be because of stress. No one ever has stressful moments and there's just like, oh man, I wish that never happened. You're at the other end of stress and you're like, that transformed me. I have been transformed into a new person because of that stress. Yeah, it sucked while I was going through it, but I had awareness now of the blessings of stress. Where can you maybe change your view in relationship to the stress and see it as an instructor, see it as a teacher, see it as a moment where you're going to learn, self-study about yourself, swadhyaya, learn about yourself in order to grow past your shortcomings. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I deeply hope this serves you. I see you if you're going through stressful times right now, but this is a new mindset, hopefully for some of you, or a reminder for some of you that stress is an ally should you actually choose to view it in this way. I will see you and be with you next week.